Okay, resetters, where are my menopausal women at? Let's talk about menopause. It is my favorite topic, maybe because I'm living in a menopausal body, but also because I'm so upset that we are not educating women about menopause and what control we do have. And we're not even talking about it. In my new book, I'm calling it the cultural hush. Like we have this shh, let's not talk about menopause. We have to stop that. So on this video, I want to go through 5 signs that tell you you're entering menopause, because it's really confusing. Even for somebody like me, it's taken me the whole decade, like pretty much from 40 to 53, to navigate the different pieces of menopause and understand my own body and my own brain. Now that I understand it really well, I'm bringing it to you all so that we can use lifestyle. We can start to look at lifestyle to make sure that our menopausal experience is much better. So here we go. Let's dive in. First thing I want to say is that menopause is sort of like a general term. So let's break down what menopause means. There's perimenopause, which is like 35 and beyond, is when the hormones start to decline. In perimenopause, what happens is estrogen does this. She's up, she's down, she's up, she's down. And progesterone, usually about 35, just does this. She just starts going down, 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 down. What we know in perimenopause is we're gonna have moments where we feel normal, and then we have moments where we're like, no bueno, not feeling more normal. So you could have these erratic ups and downs of how your body feels, and I'll talk about that here in a moment during perimenopause. Then there's like early perimenopause, and then there is late perimenopause. Oh, late perimenopause is tough. This is where you might be getting a cycle every 90 days. I spoke with a friend this morning who was like, oh my God, I had 200 days I went without a cycle, and now all of a sudden my cycle shows up. So that is like late perimenopause, where sometimes in late perimenopause you'll get a cycle every 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden it's every 2 months. It's very erratic. Whereas in early perimenopause, it's just your hormones that are erratic, but your cycle is pretty well balanced. Then there's the menopause transition. This is the one I'm in. Let me tell you, it is something. It is the year that you go without a cycle. So menopause is traditionally 1 year without a cycle. But what is happening that year in the cycle is you are missing estradiol. And estradiol is the most potent version of estrogen. She is what's been allowing these eggs to be released, but she also really affects your brain. So this is the premise of my whole next book, is what happens to our brains as we go through menopause. And one of the things we know is that estradiol has been helping with neuroplasticity, so we can hold on to information. Estradiol has been upregulating serotonin and activating the 5-HT receptor site for serotonin. I mean, she's been protecting our cardiovascular system. She's been upregulating BDNF so we can learn new information. She's been doing a lot, and now she's gone. That transition year can be rough on the brain because it's the longest period you've ever gone without estradiol. Now, the postmenopausal women will tell you, and put in the comments, because we need to hear the wisdom of the postmenopausal women. So please, please, please talk to us. But the postmenopausal women will usually tell you that, once I got over there, it was much better. It's because the brain recalibrated, the ups and downs changed, so the journey just gets a lot smoother on the other end. So with that in mind, how do we know where we are in the journey? How do we know if we're in menopause, and what do we do with all that? So here's how we look at it. The first that I think happens is the night sweats. I think this is one of the first signs, or hot flashes. And the reason I feel this is because estrogen goes up one day, and then boom, she crashes the next. She's very erratic. And in that up down, that's where the night sweats will come in. When you get a crash of estrogen, it triggers your hypothalamus to turn up the heat. And so all of a sudden you'll start to get a hot flash. A lot of women will go into bioidenticals, progesterone being one of them at that moment, to help make sure that there's enough progesterone to handle the turbulence and the erratic behavior of estrogen. Second sign is anxiety or trouble sleeping. Now, I'm putting them both together because the issue with this is that they're both a loss of progesterone. So anxiety in the menopausal years can look like a body anxiety. Like you're just like, can't sit, I don't know what to do with myself. I shared in the menopause reset, I shared a story about how when I hit this in my early 40s, I was sitting on the beach watching my kids play in the ocean, and I was like, something's not right. And my brain kept saying, what do you mean? How can it be something's not right? And it was because I realized that there was this anxious energy that was running. So because of the loss of progesterone. We don't sleep because of the loss of progesterone as well. A lot of times I'll even notice now that I need to cater to progesterone a little bit more because I start getting low back pain or I get achiness in my legs and it wakes me up in the middle of the night and I can't sleep. That's progesterone loss. So anxiety, trouble sleeping can be the second sign of menopause. Okay, third sign. I'm writing about this in the book right now. I have a whole chapter called Getting Your Joy Back. How do we get your joy back? One thing I noticed in my clinic for years was how many menopausal women came in and said, I don't know, on paper, everything looks good. I got a great husband, I have a great home, I have great kids, everything looks good, but I am not happy and I don't know why. Well, a lot of times that the estrogen, as estradiol specifically, as she goes down, she was activating your serotonin system, specifically the 5-HT2A receptor site, which is the receptor site for activating serotonin. So all of a sudden, you're just not getting, your neurochemicals have shifted. You're not getting that higher level of serotonin production. And activation, so you're just joyless. One of the things that's really interesting for activating 5-HT2A receptors, which I talk about a lot, is fasting. Fasting can activate that receptor, which is why a lot of women, when they go into the menopausal years, they start fasting, all of a sudden they drop weight, their energy goes up, and they feel happier. And that could be because of the activation. Okay, number 4 is the changes that happen to your cognitive abilities. And what this can look like is you can be reading a book and all of a sudden you read the pages and then you realize, like, I don't remember what I said. Now, that hopefully isn't happening in any of my book, but it does happen even if the book is spectacular. So what I started noticing is that I would be reading and it's like my brain had ADD and it was like I was reading. And then all of a sudden I was like 4 pages in, I'm like, I don't even remember what I was reading. And I had to like stop myself. Estradiol stimulated something called BDNF. And BDNF is brain-derived neurotropic factor, and it is fertilizer for the brain. And it keeps your neurons ready to receive information, ready to transmit information. Well, estradiol has been stimulating BDNF. Now she's gone. And so BDNF goes down, and then all of a sudden the cognitive abilities start to change. Okay, I got to interrupt this video because I have a free guide for you so you can master fasting. It's called A Beginner's Guide to a Fasting Lifestyle. And all you've got to do is click here and you can jump right in. Okay, and then the 5th one is not, I mean, you think those are bad. Like, this is the one that everybody hates the most, but I think that they're equally as bad, which is belly weight gain. And I also put in here cellulite. So all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we start gaining weight in our belly. And that's because the shift in hormones changes your microbiome. And as your microbiome shifts, you don't have the right bacteria to be able to break down your estrogen. So if estrogen's not broken down and metabolized, it's not usable to the cell. So you're not getting, if you don't have your microbiome of your gut in good shape and you're getting less and less estrogen, and you have less and less estrogen that you can break down, be able to break down, all that is just that extra estrogen that's not being broken down is sitting in your gut. And it's causing the bloating, it gets pushed out to fat, causes the belly fat. So we've got to start to look at the repair of our gut in a new light. I wrote about it in the Menopause Reset. I talk about 5 lifestyle changes you need to make. And repairing your microbiome is one of them. Now, the cellulite, well, I've talked about this on other videos. Cellulite is extra toxins that are being released. And here's the cruel thing that happens during menopause, is that as your hormones are going up and down on this crazy wild ride, that signals toxins to come out of your bones. So a popular toxin that reveals itself during menopause is lead. It lives in your bones, and as the hormones are changing, lead comes out. And what will happen is lead now has to go somewhere. So the lead is not a compound that your body can break down, it stores it. So it stores it in fat. So it goes and it pushes it into your fat tissue. Well, it'll put it around your arms, put it around your waist, it'll put it in the back of your booty. It'll also store it in your brain because your brain is also 50% fat. So if you're going through your menopausal years and you're feeling that weight gain come on and you're frustrated, let's go to the microbiome and let's start to detox. And in the Menopause Reset, I talk a lot about how we can look at different toxic exposures that we have. And I also talk about some detox principles in there. So make sure you grab that and decide for yourself which of those 5 lifestyle choices you need to make. That's menopause. And you know, it's funny because one of the things that I really wanted to do with this book is I wanted this book to be a book that every 40-year-old woman got. So if you're younger, you're in your late 30s, you want to prepare for it, you're in your early 40s, my biggest advice is do the 5 lifestyle changes in here. They work. And if you've read this book and they work for you, put it in the comments. And again, for all my menopausal women out there, I see you, I know you, I am you, I've been there in your shoes. I'm working to bring you information so that we can end the suffering. And the one thing that I ask is that we don't stay quiet. So if you love this video, you're gonna wanna check out this video. It's kind of the sucky part of menopause is that we get a toxic dump. So when we look at unwinding the menopausal weight, we've got to look at making you insulin sensitive and look at detox.